Hi, I'm Ethan. I love muzzleloading. Today we're taking a look at this original 1858 experimental Whitworth rifle. This is a desirable example of an early production 1858 dated Whitworth rifle. The Whitworth is widely considered to have been the first rifle used for true sniping. They were reportedly accurate up to 1,800 yards or more. At 1,800 yards, the rifle was recorded with groupings less than 12 feet, which was acceptable when targeting groups of soldiers and officers. At shorter distances, such as 500 yards, the Whitworth was far more accurate with tight groupings under 4.5 inches, compared to the Enfield's more than 25-inch groupings, thanks to its polygonal, hexagonal rifling, using specifically fitted bullets in the shape of the rifling, both of which were originally patented by Joseph Whitworth under his British patent number 2525, dated December 1st, 1854, and British patent number 903, dated April 23rd, 1855. The Whitworth rifle is best known for its use by the Confederate sharpshooters during the American Civil War, of which approximately 250 Whitworth rifles are believed to have been sold to the Confederate Army in total. The small amount of these rifles in use were well known and feared. Union General Sedgwick fell victim to a headshot from a sniper using a Whitworth rifle on May 8, 1864. Shortly before General Sedgwick was killed, he scolded some of his men for ducking gunfire, telling them they couldn't hit an elephant at this distance. Getting a chance to get hands-on with an original Whitworth like this was an experience that I couldn't pass up. When we think about a lot of the fantastic muzzleloaders that we see here at an auction like the Rock Island Auction Company, the Whitworth might be a little low on that totem pole, but because of the dynamic history involved with these rifles, I think it's a must-see. And that's why I wanted to bring it out and show folks some details about this rifle. Being a military piece, this is pretty plain Jane. When we talk about what makes this rifle neat, it's really about its accuracy. So at the butt plate here, we have a really thin iron butt plate. There are 2 screws holding it on, nothing fancy. No toe plate or toe protection here. As we come up towards the lock of the rifle, we have our sling stud here at the end of our trigger guard tang. We have a single trigger accompanied by a rather large lock that's appropriate for the time. Whenever we're looking at late 1850s, these really Civil War or really American Civil War era firearms, while they all have their differences, in general they're all very similar when we look at these military rifles. Rather large lock plate, really built to be sent out of the field, used and abused, and be able to take it without affecting accuracy or usability. Really chunky rifle we have here. And being the kind of rifle where we can expect extreme accuracy out to that 1,800 yards, I think more realistically, talking about that 500-yard mark. This could be a really big gun if it needed to be, if you're stationing shooters with these several hundred yards back away from the firing, the firing line. But it's still easily carried by a single soldier, by a single marksman, and I think that is a real testament to its utilitarian nature and why it's a legend among muzzleloaders and firearms historians. On this rifle, we see a little bit of wear and tear at the tang here. I'm not sure if this is from working on it in the field or cleaning or anything on here, but really I think that's the most wear that I see on this piece, is just a little bit back here around the lock, which is to be expected. I mean, that's the section of your muzzleloader that you're using all the time. A lot of cleaning needs to happen back here. I think that's to be expected on a piece like this. Moving forward, we get to the notable rear sight here. As the sight lays here, it's sighted in for 100 yards. And then on the side of the sight here, we can adjust this sight in increments to 2 all the way up to 400 yards. So we can slowly elevate this sight, the whole time using the same rear sight here to get those different yardages. So to initiate, I guess, our long range shooting with this, we flip up the rear sight. Right off the bat with the ladder rung set at its lowest point, we're sighted in for 500 yards. So you flip that out, boom, you're right into business out at 500 yards. And the sight goes all the way up to 900 with this ladder rung, and then on top of the ladder sight itself, we have that last groove getting us up over 1,000 yards. Neat little piece of engineering and of history here to show how we started to get out to those distances. Really before this, in a personal soldier or troop situation, you really didn't have a rifle reaching out that far. I don't think in mass. Now, I could be corrected in the comments, and I'm sure I have been already here, but to get out that far is pretty neat, and holding and seeing a piece of history that was able to do that makes it all the cooler. Moving up the rifle, we have 3 military-style barrel bands, really typical for the time, made for easy cleaning, easy disassembly of the firearm. I think military use of black powder firearms around the world were really detailed about the cleaning and operation of their firearms, and the barrel bands make a lot more sense when you consider having tens of thousands of troops out there needing to clean their black powder rifles, moreover than using wedges or pins that we see maybe a little bit earlier on black powder firearms. At the muzzle end, we have an iron nose cap protecting the forestock of the rifle. We have an iron ramrod. It does have basically what I would consider a built-in cleaning jag there to catch your patches, and it also has a hole through that jag to give you a little more utility out of your ramrod. Let's flip it over here to the lock plate side and show you a little bit of that. Again, much like a lot of the rifles that we're taking a look at here today, especially these 1800s era rifles, we've gotten away from a lot of the side plate usage, and we're using a small inlay around the lock bolts to kind of protect that wood and add a little bit more detail to the piece as a whole. So we have 2 lock bolts here, rather large bolts still that we've seen in several 19th century muzzleloaders here today, but these are much flatter than some of the other ones that we see. Still large, still bulky, to be durable and take some abuse, but getting a little flatter here as we kind of as we continue through time. Such a neat piece of history. And getting one like this one that we have, we know it's a Whitworth. We know it's stamped, we have the documentation. Everything is right about this Whitworth. And it being such an early Whitworth adds all the more to it. This is before the English started sending these over for the Confederates. If you're interested in this muzzleloader in particular and interested in what it took and the differences of it, primarily with the hexagonal bullet that we talk about, that really was key to the accuracy of this rifle. When we're talking about the hexagonal bullet, that's where we really start to get into realizing the full potential, I think, of a full bore projectile that we see coming up more and more now in modern muzzleloading competition and hunting. It can be kind of seen now as a selling point for new manufacturers and things, but I think all of those manufacturers and the principles they're operating on could trace that technology and that desire back to the Whitworth patents here of that hexagonal bullet right in time with the rifling on this rifle. And I think that's really neat. I think I talk a lot on the channel about how muzzleloaders really tie together a lot of firearms history, and I think the Whitworth is a prime example of that. And I'm really thankful to have the opportunity to come here and show you this original from 1858. If you'd like to see some great high-quality pictures and documentation about any of these pieces, please visit the Rock Island Auction Company on social media. They're posting a lot of great high-quality photos and videos about original muzzleloaders leading up to their December 2021 premiere auction. I'm Ethan, I love muzzleloading. If you'd like to learn more about this or anything else related to muzzleloading, please visit ilovemuzzleloading.com. Perhaps here pretty soon we can get my Parker Hale Whitworth out and do some shooting with it. See how it compares. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.